Creating a map scene. The map scene is the key to any TripVenture story. It links the storytelling elements to locations and navigates the player to them. To locate objects or areas on a map, we use the standard geographical coordinates, longitude and latitude. You can easily get those coordinates from Google Maps, OpenStreetMaps, and any other online map or navigation tool. The map is limited to an area. The limited rectangle's coordinates are set from the bottom right to the top left corner. The editor offers a copy and paste tool for coordinates. Let's copy the initial values and resize the map with the mouse. To do so, we click the Toggle Screen Area button on the Scene toolbar and drag the rectangle's corner that appear. As you can see, the coordinates above the map change accordingly. If we paste the coordinates from the clipboard, we reset the area to its original values. The map offers the player different zoom levels, and we should therefore define a minimum and a maximum zoom. We click the Scene Settings button and the Settings dialog opens. There you will find two sliders to set the zoom limits. The map image consists of tiles. For each of the zoom levels, there is a set of tiles for the entire scene area. In order to specify the locations of these tile files, we complete the fields for the tile file, which is either a JPEG or a PNG, and then drag the folder containing all tiles from the resource panel to the appropriate area. When the map setup is completed, we add our first location to the map. Simply right-click the specific location and select New to create a map scene element. A window Edit Map Scene element will open. We give the map scene element a name and decide upon further settings. The element has an activation area by default, which is defined at the bottom of the dialog area. Activation areas are used to add game logic when the player enters or exits the area. We can also add an icon to appear on the map and make the elements interactive. The latter allows the element to be part of an interaction with the inventory. Generally, map scene elements are used to indicate other scene locations on the map, and they therefore have an icon and interaction area but are not interactive. After saving the element's details, it will appear on the Map Scene Elements panel on the right-hand side. You can resize the activation area by dragging the borders. We want to start an augmented reality scene now as soon as the player enters the activation area. In order to have the same size for the area of the augmented reality scene as for the activation area, we only need to copy the augmented reality coordinates and paste them into the map scene element dialog. Don't forget to save your changes. We add a second map element in the same way now. This one, however, should not have an activation area. The icon that should be displayed on the map can be dragged from the resource panel to the appropriate area in the details window. You can also define different images, all depending on whether the element is active or inactive. With the Update Route button on the Scene toolbar, you can update the calculated walking distance between each of the map elements. The sequence of the route is defined by the order of the elements. We can define interactions for map scene elements. Click the interaction icon for the respective element. We create a simple on-touch interaction that triggers an internal monologue. Let's test our changes. We now want to start a scene as soon as the player enters the activation area. We select the On Enter button for the first map scene element and add a new action. We choose Start Scene and select the Augmented Reality scene. To demonstrate the scene stack behaviour, we create a complete round trip starting from the map, via the Augmented Reality scene, followed by the dialogue, and finally back to the map. At the moment, nothing is happening in the Augmented Reality scene. We add an interaction to start a dialogue when clicking the priest. We add an action to the dialogue's final answer so that the player returns to the map scene afterwards. Since we started from the map scene and had started the augmented reality and the dialogue from there, we also need to go back 2 scenes in order to return to the map. We choose a Return to Previous Scene action. This would return the player to the augmented reality scene. We now add a skip value of 1 and the augmented reality scene is skipped. Let's save the changes and test them. The TripVenture engine consists of multiple states for map elements, visible and invisible, as well as active and inactive. An inactive element won't start any actions like on enter or on exit. The visible and active states are independent from one another. You can have invisible but active elements as well as visible but inactive ones. We define a condition to deactivate the first scene element after the player has completed the dialogue once. We prepared an auxiliary variable called element1active to remember whether the player has finished the dialogue. The map scene element will be inactive as soon as it's set to 0. The logical definition of is not has one advantage. The variable does not have to be set before being checked. Our expression will be true as long as it has not been set to 0. Let's check whether the variable will actually be defined. We test our changes in the simulator. As you can see, the scene element is inactive after finishing the dialogue. Let's have a look at the map scene element's visibility status. It's defined the same way as the active status. We link the visibility of the second map scene element to the element1 active auxiliary variable again. We test our changes. The second scene element will now not appear until the dialogue has been completed. You can also define an on-enter and on-exit action for the map scene itself. We add a small text, which will be displayed to the player and add 10 points to the score. When exiting the scene, we show another text message and subtract 1 point. When we use the simulator in the couch mode, the player will always get placed on the map. The simulator has a log view, which you find at the bottom of the simulator window. In the log, you find an entry for both actions, the inner monologue as well as the score. If you open the game state panel on the right-hand side of the window, you'll find a score section as well. Let's test this again without the couch mode. We're now able to control the player's position using the map panel on the bottom right of the simulator's display. We set the position within the map scene and can see that the message for entering the scene is displayed. Now let's check what happens when we leave the map again. As you can see, the on-exit action is executed accordingly.